What's up, people? Like and subscribe. Parasocial relationship.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't this is like the first part of that episode, so are they even gonna know? Like they probably haven't even watched or listened to that part, right?
No, I didn't post it, so you're just having to watch it in two separate videos because I'm lazy and I don't want to combine them.
Well, there you go. This is part one of what Zach was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. We're gonna record.
Yeah. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. And welcome to episode 398 of Cinematary. I'm your host, Zach Dennis, and I'm here with.
Jessica Carr.
And in today's episode, we'll be talking about movies that we saw this week in part one. And in part two, we will be continuing our Kaye de YouTube series with Fake Friends, episode 2, Parasocial Hell by Shannon Strucci. And if you get to part 2 and Jessica sounds different and looks different, it's because it's actually Andrew.
It's because I am only in this first part, so
Andrew
there you
introduces,
go.
spoiler alert, he introduces himself as Jessica. So it's a whole thing. It's a bit.
Oh,
We got a bit. We're doing bits now.
doing comedic bits here at
Yeah.
Cinematary.
Yeah, we're pivoting. We're pivoting to a comedy podcast. So just be ready. All right, let's do it. Mainly, I wanted Jessica to come on to talk about the new Pixar movie Turning Red, which I know you saw a couple weeks ago. I saw a few weeks ago as well, but you were a big fan of it, and I enjoyed it as well. But I want to also just talk about why Pixar keeps putting their good recent movies on Disney Plus only instead of putting them in theaters also. But first we'll talk about the movie. But Turning Red, it came out earlier this or middle of last month, and it's directed by Dami Shi, who she did The Bow,
The
the short
bow
film.
short, yeah.
Yeah, and so this one, it takes place in like the early 2000s in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And it follows 13-year-old May, who is just kind of going through 13-year-old uh, teenage girl things. But when she hits puberty, instead of just being like in puberty, she becomes a giant red panda, as you do. But yeah, Jessica, what were your thoughts and feelings about Turning Red?
Yeah, so I've along with this it being sad that this movie was like only streaming, it also came out at a pretty bad time. Like the timing was not great because of all of the news that was coming out about Disney being like we don't want to support LGBTQ plus people and we don't want anything to be explicitly queer in our films, and that was like very disappointing and very sad. Also ironic for me because I had just done an event at a queer owned coffee shop and it was Disney trivia, and it was lots of LGBTQ plus people who were dressing up as these Disney characters that were their favorite, and it is sad that it's a space that they're not welcome, but a lot of them like really love the characters that Disney has created. And so that is all very disheartening and very sad. And so I wanted to watch the movie with a lot of my girlfriends, but they were kind of like the air is bad. Like this is not a good time for us to be watching this, and it was really sad because the film to me was really great and it was definitely like different than a lot of Disney films that I've seen. Obviously, there's the Asian representation, which a lot of the Disney movies that I've talked about that have Asian leads, like that's obviously not enough. And it's important to have a story and a narrative that goes along with that cultural representation as well. And I think that Turning Red like really does a good job. And it is representing that it's kind of I talked about Encanto also when it came
Mhm.
out, and that being about being the child of an immigrant. And Turning Red is very similar to that story, where the through line is that Mei Mei doesn't want to disappoint her mom. And she is like a straight A student. She's got everything going for her. She is that, like, just perfect kid, essentially. She's always like, she volunteers at the temple with her mom and is an amazing daughter, doesn't complain, never asks for anything. And kind of like the turning point for her is whenever she's asking her mom if she can go to this concert that all of her friends are going to, and her
Four Town.
mom, yeah, for and
The Four Town concert.
her mom's like, absolutely not, I don't approve of this, you can't go. And
Well,
so
she has like a
her,
whole like presentation with like
yeah,
why the Four
which,
Town concert will be like beneficial to her growth.
right, which I've totally done before. I tried to get a dog when I was younger, and I made like a pamphlet to give to my parents, and they were like, "We don't care. You still can't have it." So it was definitely a story that I resonated with, not necessarily because I felt this like crushing pressure to always please my parents specifically, but I do understand the sort of like stereotype of the Asian matriarch in the family, that is like, you have to please her, anything that she says goes. And I think that Disney has done something with these two movies where they're showing that those like boxes that they're putting these like children of immigrants in are because of fear, mostly, where they had to sacrifice a lot for where they are now, and so they want their children to be perfect. They want them to be everything that would prove to it would to prove to everyone that like the sacrifices that they made were worth it. And like, Mei Mei's mom also has just problems with her becoming a woman, like growing up and like seeing boys like being attracted to them and seeing them as, something other than just like somebody you would just like hang out with or whatever. But they so like the one of the really funny parts, and the movie is a very funny, one of the funniest parts in it is whenever Mei Mei like gets caught like drawing anime like of the cashier that's at this convenience store that she has a crush on,
Mhm.
and she draws like him holding her like shirtless. And it is very funny. I've seen lots of memes like from that, where you like fill in whatever your like fan fiction is that you drew as a child. But that was like very funny. And I know too that for a lot of young like Asian women film critics, it's very funny because like almost all of us have a picture of us when we were in middle school, and we look exactly like Mei Mei. Like, we have like the haircut with the bangs and the glasses and the cardigan. And it was just like, to me it was very well done. It had a really good message. I thought that it looked really good, and I enjoyed the direction that the movie was like taken in,
Mhm.
and what the themes that were represented were. Um so I don't know. Like, I kind of wish that it didn't come out when it did. I think that the timing like wasn't good, but I really do, because wasn't the director, isn't she the first like woman to just to do like a solo feature? Is that a thing? Or the first?
Um, I think I think the director of Brave is a female.
Yeah, but what wasn't Brave with two people?
Yeah, I think, but Turning Red, I think, was with two people. It might have been two women though. Oh, maybe not. I
No,
don't
it's just one. She's the only director of the movie.
Okay, yeah. So I guess so. I don't know.
And it says that she's definitely the first woman to direct a short film for Pixar. So
Yeah,
That's cool.
And we'll specify that it is. It's. I mean, granted, even though Pixar's under Disney, it is Pixar, which seems to
I
be.
always get this confused.
Well, it
Yeah.
seems to be living. That's the kind of point I was gonna make. Is Pixar seems to be living in this different realm than like because Encanto got like a theatrical release. Disney like blew that thing up, because
Mm.
it's a Disney animated studio movie. And Pixar, it seems like those movies to me like the most recent Pixar movies have been kind of not only like good fun movies, but also like kind of interesting. They've tackled stories that are not like super fantastical or it's not Toy Story or Cars or something like that. Like you look at Luca and you look at Turning Red, and they're pretty like by the books, or not by the books, but like they're not like fantastical, these giant stories. I mean, granted, Turning Red has a climax, spoiler alert, where these giant pandas are fighting in an arena. But for the most part, like it's just kind of this like very self-contained story about May and her mom. And Luca, it's just it's about him and his family and his friend. And so it's been interesting to see that like those two movies, which I think are, at least to me, are much more interesting and much better made than the Disney animated movies that have been coming out recently. But they've been just getting relegated to Disney Plus, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed Turning Red as well. I think you mentioned the animation. The animation in this um, is really good. It dips a little bit into that almost like semi-real realm when like because there's this one scene where her dad is making food and
Oh
it looks
my
like he's like legit
gosh.
make it like has the quality of like if people saw The Good Dinosaur and you saw like that ultra realistic looking water, it's
Mm.
like that but with whatever the meal was he was
Oh,
cooking.
it looks so cool.
Yeah,
It looks so good.
but at the same time, it also will dip into like these kind of like almost anime moments, these kind of
Mhm.
comic book anime moments where, like she'll have reactions or something like that, and you'll get like the like vivid background or something,
Mhm.
and like I kind of dug like this marriage between, um, very like kind of traditional anime TV, stuff like Naruto or One Piece or
Mhm.
things like that, and like Pixar animation. It was a cool combo, and that was one of the things that I dug about Turning Red because I think a lot of the you know regardless of quality, you look at like the recent Disney movies, whether it's Encanto or Raya and the Last Dragon or some things like that, like it's very like kind of straightforward animation, and like this
Mhm.
one and Luca, they feel like they're kind of like I thought the director for this is at least playing around with stuff and like trying to like make it a little bit more fun and engaging than just you know just kind of putting out a movie. So I think it's unfortunate that they dumped this on Disney Plus instead of giving it a
Mhm.
theatrical run.
Yeah, for sure. And now that you mention it, like with those animation styles or whatever, I love just some of the comedic bits too of like where she'll be talking and stuff and then she'll get nervous and it'll like zoom in on her face in detail and you can see the sweat just like on her face like
Hmm.
pouring down and it like reminds me of SpongeBob too, wherever they just like ultra detail zoom in on someone's face. And also in the like party scene, whenever she goes to that rich kid's like
Hmm.
birthday and they're chugging the colas, like the sodas, and everybody's like faces are kind of like stretched out and exaggerated. And all of those like parts were super good. Also, everybody knows that whenever you're about to have a squad of older Asian women, they're about to come up in there with the big old sunglasses and the Gucci purses and the platform flip flops. I love those like little details in it. I thought that that was super funny. And of course, we have to mention the whole period scene, which just like
Anchored white
pissed
women on
off
Facebook.
white women talking about it. And I
God
will
forbid.
say I will say that Mei is lucky that her mom was even like kind of talking to her about it. I told my mom, I was like, I want to wear tampons, and she was like, I'm not gonna talk to you about that. And I was like, all right, cool. So yeah, I was just like when that scene came up, I thought that it was so funny. And whenever I saw previews for this movie, like last year, I was worried that it was like a furry thing. Like I was just like confused about
Like, was
why
gonna
they
take a
were,
turn.
yeah, I was just confused about what the angle was or why they were doing it, but it made a lot more sense like after I watched the film, and I thought that the concept like worked really well. I think a lot of people compare it to Inside Out with the emotional like aspects of it or whatever, of being like,
Yes.
this is how a middle school girl is, and this is how her emotions are. But I loved how they turned that into like the kind of like the bigger message of like not only do young girls have emotions, and it's not just like, oh, you're on your period, that's why you're angry, or you're on your period and you're about to start your period and that's why you're yelling at me. It's like, no, they're just like pieces of your personality, or like you're forming your personality, and it's okay to voice your emotions and what you're feeling. And I liked that part in Turning Red where it was like she's deciding that she wants to keep the panda part of her because she's saying like, I am who I am, I want to keep this piece of me because I like it. And so I don't know, I thought that part was cool, but also I was like, damn, she can just turn into a panda now whenever she feels like
Sounds fun as hell.
it. Like, wow, that's crazy.
I like the whole like that she I like that instead of making it where she's like trying to hide the panda from everybody, she's like, let's just monetize this
Yeah, yeah.
and like she just makes it a grift. Good for her. She got a nice side hustle going,
Oh yeah.
being a panda.
Overachievers, baby. That's what we're talking about. You gotta, you gotta find a way.
Yeah, I don't. It's just hopefully, it seems like Pixar's doing cool stuff because I like this one. I really liked Luca also. I hope that they'll put him back in movie theaters because I think this one would have played well in a movie theater, like on a big screen.
Hmm.
Same with Luca. But I also like that both stories are just very like self-contained.
Hmm.
Like character stories rather than Cars 3 and Finding Dory and things like that, where it's like just trying to regurgitate nostalgia. So I'm enjoying these. But Turning Red, it's on Disney Plus. Sorry to the LGBTQ community with Disney. I mean, but at the same time, if you didn't realize that Disney was a terrible company, that's kind of, Google's free, guys. Um, let's talk about Batman.
I was like, that's right. We're kicking it off. We're doing really well as a comedy podcast. That was our joke that we snuck in there so that
Yeah,
you understand what we're pivoting to.
Batman.
The
Um,
Batman.
We've talked about it a couple times. I don't think we need to like do a whole.
Yeah, no, it's just
He does Batman
you
stuff,
know who the Batman is. It's
So
Robert Pattinson playing the Batman.
what did you make of Robert
Oh
Pattinson?
my gosh, I love grungy emo Batman. It was so funny. Like I hate Batman first of all. Like I don't like rich people, and so
It's a big quality of his.
it's really hard to like Batman because he is like, just a billionaire who doesn't have any powers. He just has gadgets, and so that's stupid
Money.
also. He's like kind of the worst superhero ever if I had to pick one. Like I think Batman is probably number one worst
Oh, I would
superhero.
say in terms of like rich people superheroes who don't have any powers, I would go with maybe Iron Man being worse
Yeah.
because he's also obnoxious.
Well, he has that core thing in his chest right? So he's
Yeah, but I
like,
mean, I know old people who have pacemakers
oh
and they're not
my
special.
god, oh my god, oh my gosh. Anyways, so pretty much Zach had sold me on this movie when we talked about it, or when he talked about like a couple of weeks ago, because he described it as more of like a noir, like detective sort of movie, and I'm super into that.
Thanks
And
for talking about me in the
so
third person like I'm not here.
I'm not, the listeners are they can hear me. What do you want me to say? You
Yeah.
talked about this anyways.
Anyway.
So I also really like Paul Dano. He's like one of my favorite actors, and I think he's unconventionally attractive to me. And I don't
Even in
really
this one?
know. No, not in
Okay.
this one at
Okay, good.
all. No, not in this one at all. And he just looks sweaty and like he's not moving his mouth at all. In this one, like if you're watching the video, an example is like this. He's like he doesn't move his mouth or anything when he's talking, and his mask is like duct tape, like it looks like duct tape or some kind of weird material that kind of looks like he's got a little like latch for his lips, and
No lip
it's
latch.
just, yeah, it's
He
just crazy.
looks like the Zodiac guy in Zodiac who kills like the people at,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, and much like Zodiac, like whenever you're investigating all of these like upper crust people in Gotham that are dying, like there are lots of things that are kind of like Zodiac where you're like finding clues and you go to the crime scene and it's like, "Oh, wow, his like hand is cut off and it's shoved in his like pocket or whatever." Like it's just weird. Also, some of the contraptions that the Riddler uses like reminded me of Saw. Like there was a point where it was just like he like stuffed a man in a maze and then had like rats just like crawling around in there. And then, but the funny part is that every single time they find, crime scene and they find a body, is it was like
Got little
he had
Hallmark card.
a little Hallmark card and it said to the Batman, which I thought was
It's
very
cute.
cool. It was very cute. But
Like
like,
somebody was like they should have just like if Batman was that good of a detective, he would have just went to like Michael's or something and been like, "Do you see any like depressed sad boys coming and buying a bunch of greeting card
I'm
equipment?"
convinced he made the cards. I'm
Well, that's what I'm
convinced he
saying. He
made
went to
them.
like Michael's and they were like, "Yeah, this really weird dude just came in and he bought a bunch of greeting card things."
Creepy old ass looking cards he pasted together from like children's books or something. It was like weird. But yeah, and then all there was like the point in the movie where the Riddler is just like, yeah, Bruce Wayne, just an orphan, an ivory tower. Nobody gives a shit about him. And it's like everyone always cares about him, but they don't care about the orphans that were starving. And I was like, I agree with him. I agree with everything he's saying.
You were like,
I was just like, yep, he knows what he's talking about. And that's when it's kind of like, I don't know. The only
how did you feel about the length?
No, it was too long. It was way too long. There was
Yeah.
lots of stuff that they could have cut out. Also, like just some of the parts where he was like replaying the night before, where I was like, oh, I was there. I don't need to see this.
I
Like,
was there.
why are you doing this?
He's
Also,
very sad.
yeah, he's super sad. Oh my gosh, my favorite letterbox review is the one that says like gangly ass, translucent ass, pale Batman is like, I cheered whenever he like left the Batcave and went upstairs to see Alfred, and he like was like cringing because of the sunlight, and then he like put sunglasses on, and then it was like, put those sunglasses on, you little freak.
He
Oh, so
I was
funny.
the funniest part was the beginning of the movie where they go to that first crime scene and he's like and again like I talked about this I think a couple episodes ago, but like he's doing it because he's recording all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um but like it's just so funny because he's like walking like really slowly like this around the crime scene, and they're just like looking at him like, why is he like
Why are you
on?
doing this?
He's just
Yeah.
like walking like looking like this. No, he's very entertaining the entire time because he's just so like gangly and tall
Mm,
and just sad and has like his hair like all
yeah.
the way down there, and he's just like this the entire time.
Everybody hates him too. They're so mean to him.
Yeah, they're just
Everyone like hates his guts. They're like, "You freak, get out of here, freak!" Like they're always just like yelling at him, and he also like a really good point is that he's barely Bruce Wayne like in the movie at all. He's like Batman for probably like 80% of the movie.
yeah.
Which is, I mean, I think that's interesting because a lot of superhero movies like to do at least half and half, where it's like they're the superhero, but then this is their real life and how that is. But this movie was like, actually, we don't give a shit about what Bruce Wayne's like actual
In his
life is like.
ivory tower being an orphan.
It was just like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, like I just think I thought the length was too long, and I thought some of the stuff with his dad just got like super convoluted, where
Yeah,
it was like,
I would have cut the whole John Turturro side
yeah,
plot out of
yeah,
it.
it
I would have cut that
just,
out and put more Colin Farrell.
yeah, like literally, Colin Farrell is the rat, and that's it. Like we're good. We don't need anything else. Colin Farrell was the rat. That's it. Like we don't need any of the other stuff. It doesn't matter. It's all fine. We had fun. We had a good time. We know what happened. He's gonna be sad and ride off with his motorcycle, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
He had a all right.
yeah.
So thumbs up on the Batman.
Thumbs up on Batman. I thought it was good. I don't want them to make another one. I won't watch it. I will not. I
I mean, they're
stop.
going
Just
to.
stop. Stop it.
I mean,
Stop.
they're going to.
No. Quit. Tell them to quit. That's it. That's it. That's all I have. Just make one good thing and then move on to the next good thing. That's it.
Move on with your life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's our takeaway. Turning Red, great. Disney, not great. And then Batman, just enjoy the one thing and move on.
That's right. Thank you.
All right. Well, we're gonna be talking about the opposite of that whole concept in part 2 after this short break, where I'm gonna ditch Jessica and find Andrew. So stay around.
Stay around.